What is going on, guys? It is Livid Fray. Hope you guys are all doing very well today. It's pretty crazy to think that it's been this long, but a little over a year ago, I came out with a guide for how to farm for exotics and classified gear in the Division 1. This is definitely one of the most popular videos that I have uploaded on my channel, and I'm noticing that I missed out on some key information in regards to the global event drop rates, because at the time of the upload, the global events were offline. Now that they are resolved, I want to go ahead and polish up that video by coming up with an updated version. I'll go into some of my favorite ways to obtain exotics and classified gear, and some of the more efficient methods, even if I don't find them most favorable. And the idea of this is to help you find an activity that you really enjoy playing, and sticking to that activity to find the things that you need. I'll make sure to give you guys the percentages if I know them, and if I don't know them, I'll give you the gist of what I do know. I'll go ahead and start off with the most straightforward method, which is just doing your weekly assignments every week. These are across all of your characters, and you can have up to 3 different weeklies per character, so that is going to be your underground, survival, and your basic weekly assignment. The weekly assignment cache rewards 1 guaranteed exotic item, and you can collect these across all of your characters, so once you finish it for your first character, you can go on to the second, third, and fourth. I find this method to be pretty time consuming, but it's a really good passive way to just gain exotics that you may be looking for. I wouldn't make this your sole method for obtaining exotics if you are searching for a lot of different ones or a very specific one, but it is a really good one to use, especially if you just want some passive division tech. The next method is from legendary missions. Legendary missions will guarantee an exotic cache once per week per character. So if you do it on one character, you can switch characters and do the mission again, and you will receive that exotic cache again, but you won't receive it more than once per week. Some of the legendary missions actually can spawn hunters at the end, and these guys will drop a guaranteed exotic when they are defeated. The hunters only spawn inside Amherst's apartment, Grand Central Station, Madison Field Hospital, and General Assembly. The hunters will only spawn in as long as you or your team have not wiped after a checkpoint. The hunters are really tanky and pretty annoying to kill, but with an effective team, you can usually do it no problem. If you are solo, it's best to do it with some DPS builds. You can obviously do it with Tactician, but it's going to take you a really long time. Legendary missions have a 20% chance across the board to receive a classified item upon completion of the mission itself. And what I mean by this, these are going to be the rewards that you receive for actually completing the mission. The bosses themselves do not drop classifieds or exotic items. The next method is going to be Heroic Incursions. Heroic Incursions also have an exotic cache that you can earn once per week per character, so it's the same method for legendaries, also applies to incursions. You cannot obtain those exotic caches from challenging incursions, so this is only for heroic incursions. There are no hunters that spawn or anything like that, so it's really only the exotic cache that you're going to be earning from this. The only percentages that you have to actually obtain anything are what we call limited exotics. A limited exotic is a very specific exotic for a very specific mission. So you can receive the Warlord exotic assault rifle from Falcon's Lost. This can drop from the APC. The Medved can drop from the final boss inside Clear Sky, and the Golden Rhino can drop from Dragon's Nest, and the Damascus can drop from Stolen Signal. I've never gotten it to drop from there, so I'm assuming that it only drops from the final boss, but I'm not 100% sure. Getting into the next method, we're going to be looking at challenging missions. In the original guide that I had posted, I said that it was only possible to obtain the limited exotic items, at least to my knowledge. This was actually incorrect. I guess there's actually a 3% chance to obtain a classified item from the mission boss. I must just be really unlucky. I've never actually seen this before, or if I have, I don't remember. There's also a 3% chance to obtain the limited exotic. And the limited exotics are as follows. The Urban MDR and the Showstopper can drop from any challenging mission bosses. So if you are looking for these, you can do any mission on challenging, and it is supposedly in their loot pool. Barrett's Bulletproof Vest can be dropped from Lexington Event Center by LeRae Barrett. The Shortbow Championship D-pads can drop from the boss inside Madison Field Hospital. Pharaoh's Mask can of course drop from Pharaoh inside Napalm, and Bliss's Holster can drop from General Assembly. And I have to be honest with you guys, I have never ever gotten a limited exotic. At least on PC, I've never gotten a limited exotic drop from any of these missions. So I personally do not think this is an effective method anymore. So if you are aiming for these specifically, there are just far more effective methods to obtain them. I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys are really trying to find like a Barrett's chest piece, and you guys are farming Lexington over and over again, there's probably, and there definitely is, more effective ways to do it. The next method is one of my personal favorites, which I'll get into later, but this is open world bosses. There are 15 open world bosses scattered across the map. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description for a couple of resources on how to find them. These bosses respawn every 4 hours, and they can be farmed across all of your characters, meaning you can do a route on your main character, switch to your second, third, fourth, and do the route all over again. You can also do this with friends, so if you have already completed yours, you can join a friend and kill their bosses with them. The open world bosses have a 6% chance flat across the board for classifieds and exotics. Additionally, the open world boss loot pool is open, meaning you can obtain all exotics aside from the ones that are for sale inside Camp Clinton and the terminal vendors. Open world bosses also have a chance to drop both an exotic and a classified item in one drop. I have had that happen before. Our next method are the season pass supply drops. You have to own the season pass for these to show up, and I believe you also have to be level 30. So if you just bought the game and you're wondering what I'm talking about or what these are, just keep leveling up, and once you hit level 30, you should start seeing them. And they will spawn on the 1st and the 15th of every month across all of your characters. So again, you can do this on your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th characters, and you'll obtain all of those rewards again. The Season Pass supply drop has a 10% chance to receive one classified item. I don't believe there's any kind of bonus chances, and there's no chances to get exotics. This is also just a really effective thing to be obtaining every month because it does give you 100 div tech for each one. So if you look at it, that's actually 800 tech a month that you're getting just from obtaining a drop on all 4 characters. The next method are high value targets, or HVTs. There are both daily and weekly HVTs available to you. Each of the HVTs can have anywhere between 1 to 4 bosses, and the bosses have a 3% chance for a classified item and a 3% chance for a limited exotic, and the designated limited exotic for HVTs are the Hilder and Air SMGs. I've never gotten any other exotic from them before, and it's very, very rare that I ever obtain classified gear as well from this method. They are, however, really easy and really fast to complete. I always like to recommend these whenever you need Phoenix credits. They are a really effective way to obtain a lot of raw gear as well. If you're looking for weapons or mods or anything like that, these are really good to go take out every week. I do recommend to save these for your global events, so you can actually gain some global event credits. These are really wealthy in global event rewards, so if you are close to a GE week, I would recommend keeping them around for that. The next method is from field proficiency caches. You'll earn field proficiencies once you hit level 30. Instead of leveling up to the next level, you'll receive what's called a field proficiency cache. And this just gives you some various loot. Every once in a while, you'll have a 3% chance for exotic items and a 6% chance for classified gear. You'll also get around 20 Phoenix credits every time you open up a field proficiency, so these are just really good to open in general. I've gotten some pretty decent mods and gear and stuff out of them before. And something else that's really cool is that you can obtain both an exotic and a classified item in one cache. I have had that happen quite a few times in the past. Now we're moving on to the DLC for the game, starting off first with Underground. Underground allows you to set up your own experience to better increase your reward chances. The more directives and the higher difficulty phases that are in place, the higher rewards and hunter spawn chances that you'll receive. Hunters do spawn inside random points in the underground. They can spawn pretty much after any of the objectives that you complete. I'm not sure what the percentage increase actually is. I just know that the higher difficulty or the higher directives, the more likely you are to have hunters to spawn. Hunters have a 12% chance to obtain exotic items and a 6% chance for classified items. If you are in a group, it is going to spawn multiple hunters. I unfortunately think it's only one actual drop though. I don't think that they each have their own individual drop. I feel like it's only ever been one drop for a hunter encounter. And as far as the percentages when it comes to the difficulty, it's always going to drop from the named bosses. So if you're doing a normal phase, it's going to be a 3% chance for exotics and a 1% chance for classified, so these are very, very low. Moving on to the hard difficulty, we have a 6% chance for exotic and a 4% chance for classified. It's a little bit more lenient, but still pretty low. And finally, the challenging is going to have a 9% chance for exotics and a 6% chance for classified, which is far more doable. I would put these bosses somewhat on the same level as open world bosses, but you're going to have a much higher chance at getting exotics. Down in the underground, you'll also earn an underground cache, but it's very similar to just like a proficiency cache method. You'll get an underground cache for every level that you rank up inside underground. These have a 1% chance for exotic and a 3% chance for classified gear. And the last method that you have down here is the hidden chest that can be found somewhere throughout the session. I'm not sure if it has a 100% spawn chance. I may have missed it here and there, but I feel like it doesn't always spawn, but when it does spawn, it has a 3% chance for an exotic and a 6% chance for a classified gear item. The hidden chests have the same asset as the sealed caches do in the Dark Zone, and some of the hidden chests inside the underground have like blue paint on the top of it. It's pretty easy to see. But that's going to be everything for the Underground DLC. Now we're moving on to the next DLC, which is Survival. The only way that you can obtain any of these drops inside Survival is by extracting Survival caches. You can't get any kind of exotics or classified through the regular weapons or gear caches. It has to be from Survivals. The survival caches can drop from bosses. They are 100% drop chance from the bosses inside the landmarks in the Dark Zone, and they can occasionally drop from hunters, but it is pretty rare for them to drop from them. These caches have a 10% chance for a classified item. These can be any of the regular items that you receive from the cache itself. It's up to 4 items. There is an additional 6% bonus classified chance, meaning you can get an extra one, or there is a 1% chance for a bonus exotic from a survival cache. So the chances for getting exotics from survival caches is really, really low. I wouldn't use it as your primary source for getting exotics. However, a 10% chance plus an extra bonus 6% is a pretty decent amount. I've definitely gotten to classifieds from a survival cache before, but it is pretty rare. Our next DLC is going to be Last Stand. I'm going to also include Skirmish in this because the reward system is the same. Both Last Stand and Skirmish will reward caches based off of your performance rank for each match, very similar to how Survival works. Both of these caches have a 3% chance for exotics and a 6% chance for classified gear. On top of this, once you hit rank 40, you'll also earn what's called a PvP Proficiency cache, very similar to how Proficiency caches work. After every level, you will earn a PvP Proficiency, and these ones also have a 3% chance for exotics and a 6% chance for classified. You do also start earning classified caches after, I believe it's after every 5 levels after rank 40. I don't know for certain, so if you guys have different experiences with that, please let me know. But to my understanding, you will receive a classified cache every 5 levels after rank 40. The next method is from Westside Piers and Resistance. We'll start off with Westside Piers first. There's only 2 methods for getting drops, and it's from either named bosses or alerts. Both of these have a 3% chance for exotics and a 6% chance for classifieds. Next one, we have Resistance. So this one actually has quite a few different percentages. We'll start off first with the reward crate. This one has pretty high percentages, I would say, but it is a bit inconsistent. So for the reward crate that you can find on the map, you'll have a 14% chance for exotics and close to a 60% chance for classified drops. Now this does seem high, but just keep in mind that regular gear sets also drop from this, so the other percentages is pretty much what a regular gear set would be. So while it does have almost a 60% drop rate, you'll have to consider points as well as how effectively you can farm the method in general. I would say that it's a bit time consuming, but we'll get into that a little bit later. The rounds that have named bosses that spawn, I think it's every 5 levels or so, are going to have a 3% chance for both exotics and classifieds. And finally, there's caches that can be anywhere from tier 2 to 5, and you'll go up in these caches for every so many levels of resistance that you clear. To make things really easy, all of the caches tier 2 through 5 have a 23% chance for exotics, so you're going to have a fair chance at exotics just from this crate. As far as classified gear goes, it does go up in value for each tier, so we do have a 12.5% for tier 2, tier 3 has a 15% chance, tier 4 is a 20% chance, and finally the tier 5 cache has a whopping 80% chance for a classified item to drop. Tiers 3 through 5 also have bonus classified chances starting at 10%, tier 4 being 17.5%, and then tier 5 being 20% flat. I would say that if you are going to go for the long haul in resistance, it could be pretty efficient for farming classified gear. You can also just get to wave 10 and dump everything into the crate and start over if you want to. I do have a video on how to farm the reward crate. I'll link that in the description if you guys are wanting to check that out. Finally, we're getting into some of the alternative ways that you can earn some drops, starting off with the special equipment vendor. This vendor is located inside Camp Clinton and inside the terminal, and they do sell select exotic weapons. I would say these weapons in general are pretty niche. I don't think that they're necessarily worth buying. Unless you're just getting back to the game and you don't really have any weapons to start out with, the Liberator is an alright choice, depending on the roles that it has. The Historian is also somewhat useful for Deadeye, but it's not my first pick. The only other time that these weapons are available are inside the superior caches for the global events, which I'll get into shortly. This vendor also sells classified caches at the very bottom of their list. You'll notice that it's 2,500 Phoenix credits to purchase, so it's very expensive, but it does guarantee a 100% chance for a classified gear piece. This vendor also sells a gear set sealed cache that apparently has a 1% chance for both exotics and classified items. This percentage is extremely low, and I can't say that I've ever gotten one from these before. I definitely wouldn't rely on this method, but it can be a really nice surprise if you have some Phoenix credits left over and you don't plan to use them on anything else. The next method is going to be the Dark Zone. Honestly, the Dark Zone is arguably one of the most efficient and effective methods for obtaining drops. Each of the bosses that are inside the landmarks is essentially the same as an open world boss, having a 5 to 6% chance for exotics and classified gear. There's also contamination events that spawn in. Those bosses also have a 5% chance for exotics and 6% for classified. However, for completing the actual contamination event itself, there is no drop percentages for exotics, but you do have a 5% chance to gain a classified item from completing the contaminated event. Supply drops also rotate within the Dark Zone every so often. They have a 6% chance for classified instead of the items that you need to extract. There's also a 2% chance for a limited exotic from the supply drops, the limited exotics being the Thompson and the Tommy gun. And finally, the Dark Zone chests have a 0% chance, unfortunately, for exotics, but they do have a 6% chance for classified gear. The Dark Zone also has weekly and monthly leaderboards that you can do for additional rewards. If you do get higher up on the leaderboard, you will get a guaranteed exotic cache, depending on the tier that you're in. If you're in the highest tier, you will absolutely get one. If you're in the middle tier, you'll have a big chance of getting one. And if you're in the first tier, you won't get one at all. There are 3 different caches that you can earn inside the Dark Zone for either surviving or eliminating other Manhunt players. Bounty caches are awarded to anybody who eliminate other Manhunt agents. Manhunt caches are rewarded to players who survive a Manhunt status. The amount of caches that are earned are going to depend on the rank of the Manhunt that was survived. And finally, Banshee caches are rewarded to players who both eliminate and or survive Manhunts while using the 6-piece Banshee Shadow bonus. Both the Bounty and the Manhunt sealed caches will reward 1 item when opened, where the Banshee caches will reward 2 items instead of 1. The actual percentages of exotics and classified gear drops are the same, of 3% for exotic drops and 6% for classified gear drops. As long as there is 1 member of the team using a full 6-piece classified Banshee Shadow, everyone inside the team will benefit from the Banshee caches, meaning that if you clear a rank 5 manhunt with your team, all members of the team will receive Banshee caches as rewards. I think one of the reasons why the Dark Zone is so effective for obtaining these drops is because the landmarks and the bosses are all really close together, and there's events that bring more of them in. There's additional activities that you can do for extra rewards. The leaderboard option is also a really good idea for getting exotics. Just keep in mind that you don't own anything until you extract it. Finally, the one that I missed out on last time is going to be the global events. So the global events have 2 different methods for obtaining these drops. It's going to be from the superior caches and the classified designated gear set caches from the vendor inside the terminal. The superior caches are honestly your best bet for obtaining exotics. It does have a higher chance at getting classified gear, however it does have a decent chance for exotics at 11.5%. Classifieds are 45% from any of the classifieds that are available for that week. It doesn't just give you a random one, it's any of them that are available from that week exactly. You'll also have an additional 11.5-ish% to obtain a bonus classified, so this means that you could have 2. And there's finally a bonus exotic drop chance as well at around 1.5%, so it's pretty low, but I do think this is a better alternative for if you're looking for exotics, because these exotics are completely open. This means that you can actually get the ones that are for sale inside the terminal and in Camp Clinton. And finally, the classified gear set caches available from this vendor have a 100% chance to get an item from that arsenal for that week. Those are the only gear sets that will drop from the classified gear set caches. If you do manage to complete the global event at a somewhat higher tier, not only do you receive unique vanity items, but you will get extra global event caches at the end of that week that you can redeem at the rewards vendor. So that is pretty much every which way for obtaining exotics and classified items in the game. Let me just give you some of my general opinions and what some of my favorite methods are. I will briefly mention resistance. Resistance is arguably the best way to get classified gear. The only reason why I don't have it on my list of actual favorites is because it's time consuming. It gets really boring. It's dreadful. It's not a 100% chance that you're actually going to get good items, and the items that you do get are not guaranteed to be what you need, which it will be like that for all cases, but I generally would rather enjoy the activity that I'm doing, and resistance is not one of them. If you don't mind the grind as much, I think that resistance is a really good option, especially if you're just starting out and you have a somewhat decent build to get you by, but not enough classified gear to put 6 pieces together. The next one that I wanted to mention is Underground. I would say that Underground is probably the best place to be if you don't have any classified gear yet and you're trying to get to a position where you can get it effectively, because obviously you can't jump right into legendary missions. You can't really go into the Dark Zone without getting owned by other players. So I think that Underground is like a happy medium. Even if you can manage to get to a hard difficulty, I still get hunter spawns quite frequently on hard difficulty. The hunters are actually much easier to defeat than they are inside survival or inside obviously resistance. And the drops are 6% for exotic and 4% chance for classifieds. The classified drop isn't very high as it is. However, at the very least, you can get yourself to a position where you can bump it up to challenging. That's where the rewards are actually higher than they are in the open world. The challenging mission bosses as well. I really would not put all of your eggs in one basket on this one. The drop chances for the limited exotics alone are just so low that I wouldn't depend solely on this method anymore. I'm sure a lot of you guys maybe played the game back when it was in its prime, maybe in 1.5, 1.6 up to 1.7. So this definitely used to be the method. You would want to do the designated mission to obtain that exotic. That's unfortunately just not the case anymore. You're far better off doing things like your open world bosses to get the things that you need. I'm also going to say the same for HVTs. The drop chances from this method are just too low to begin with at only 3%. I really wouldn't waste your time doing HVTs attempting to get exotics or classified items. I would really only use HVTs for credit farming, such as global event credit farming or for Phoenix credit farming. This is what they are best used for. And as far as things like the Last Stand and these skirmish caches, these honestly aren't PvE friendly. There are some PvE activities that you can do. You can take out the landmarks and stuff like that. Odds are the people that have been going for their commendations though are going to be stuck to those landmarks like glue. So if you're just hopping in trying to get some points and get yourself on the leaderboard to earn some Last Stand caches, I can promise you that it's really not worth your time. There's just far too many dedicated PvP players in there who are trying to effectively earn their blood money commendation. So they aren't really going to allow you to take over their landmark. And unfortunately, if you are on PC, there are hackers that will prevent you from doing that. So we've talked about the bad and the ugly. Let's go ahead and get into some of my favorite methods for obtaining classified gear and exotic drops. The first one being survival. I personally really enjoy survival. It's one of my favorite things to do in the game, and it does have a 10% chance just flat for getting classifieds from any of those drops that are within those caches, and you can get up to 9 caches per run, so you're almost guaranteed to at least get one classified item. There's also a bonus 6% chance, which is the equivalent of getting one from an open world boss drop. And you do have a really teensy tiny chance for exotics, but really not anymore. This used to be the only way that you could get the urban, but they decided to add that to the challenging loot pool instead. Now you just have a 1% chance to get any of them within the open world loot pool. I would have to say my next favorite method for obtaining these drops is from legendary mission rewards. That 20% flat chance to receive classifieds from legendaries is very rewarding, honestly. Legendary missions also give you those exotics at the end, so you get that 100% exotic reward, as well as if the hunter drops one. So just for that run, you are receiving at least 2 exotics, and then you'll finally have a 20% chance for a classified on top of that. And considering the stage of the game that we're at, odds are if you join some players that just don't need anything, they're more than happy to drop you what they got. I have to add the global event at close to the top of this list just because the global events are honestly so much fun to experience. They add modifiers to the world, so it also applies to my other favorite method that I'm going to get into next. The global events just make things so much easier. You can obtain the exact classified gear that you're looking for. You get to actually pick and choose which one you want. The activities that you get to play while going for the cosmetics that you're looking for also just makes this, honestly, a 10 out of 10 way to get the things that you're looking for. And then the next and final method is honestly my most favorite way of getting exotics and classifieds is going to be open world bosses. I love doing my open world boss runs. Those of you who tune into my streams know how much I do enjoy doing them. I will do them in one sitting across all characters. It is a really easy and effective way to get the stuff that you want. I have the whole route down. It takes me anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes if I'm really pushing it. In general, it's a really chill and casual way to get the stuff that you need, and I always recommend to players who are trying to get drops, just do them as soon as you log in. It's a really easy way to warm up, and you can get right into the next activity that you really enjoy doing. Well, you guys, this was my updated exotic and classified gear farming guide. I'm hoping that this was beneficial information for you. I'm hoping you learned something new that maybe I didn't mention last time. I was excited to give you guys some additional information that I had learned and updated older information that may not have been as accurate. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.